just discussing a little bit about the local housing market, how hot it is. And now, just like the hot sunny days we are supposed to have, the real estate market seems to be heating up all over the country, not just in Seattle.
That's true. It's kind of a similar story to varying degrees in most places. Prices are up, at or near double digits year over year. And biggest problem seems to be lack of inventory. People can't find a home to buy. Builders can't build them fast enough. People aren't listing them, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you tend to see that? Is it all over the country? I mean, is it kind of the same story in a lot of different cities?
It is, but as I say, to varying degrees. There are certainly some parts of the country where the economy isn't great, and people aren't moving there. Seattle's one of those places where people want to move, where there are jobs, people can afford to buy nice homes. It's also one of those places where prices were down, and so people stopped buying for a while, and so there was a bit of pent-up demand. So, particularly in those sorts of cities, those places where the prices went down, those places that are still attractive to live, that's where you're seeing this. Some of the other places where, there's been this longer-term trend of the economy being sour and people moving out, it's not so much.
You talk about the overall economy, and what's interesting about the article you wrote yesterday is it kind of reminds me of watching an entire stock market. The way that we track house prices, I mean, we have this long-term trend up, and then there's these little blips in between. Is that a kind of interesting way to explain it?
Well, the thing about all trends, and particularly bubbles, is even if you kind of know what's coming, it's hard to know when to jump, so to speak. So if you were to know going back to 2006, 2007 that things were about to turn, then you could be in a great position. But when prices started going down in Seattle back in 2007, we went from having huge increases to slightly smaller increases, and lots of smart people who pay a lot of attention to the market thought, well, it's still fine. Those increases weren't sustainable anyway. And then over the next 45 months, for 45 straight months, that trend continued. Every month the prices weren't going up quite as much, and then they started going down, and then they started going down some more. And every month that trend just continued. What's interesting is it was uninterrupted for, as I say, 45 months, nearly 4 years before our price drops bottomed out and we started going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And since then it's been 35 months going back up, where our increases started to get smaller, and then all of a sudden prices were going up a little bit, and then they were going up some more. And there were actually some bumps along the way. It wasn't like our when we were going down, where every month was down. We actually we had a little bit of ups and downs along the way. At one point we had a point at which it looked like the market might have bottomed out, and things started to pick up a little bit, and then it went back down some more.
And for kind of the calculus junkies out there, because I'm sure there's a lot of them, we're really kind of talking about the acceleration of the change in market, right? I mean, it starts going down less, which is actually improving, and then as it goes up a little bit, that's also improving. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, so your prices are still going up, but they're not going up as much as they were. So we're seeing that
the improvement is actually decelerating or accelerating.
Right. Yeah. So I think I talked about going down from our peak in 2007. This is going back even further to when our increases started slowing down, decelerating increases.
Yeah, no, that's why we have to get the calculus junkies out there.
Yeah, exactly right. And this is all from the S&P Case-Shiller Index, which is fun because it looks at repeat sales of the same homes rather than looking at what happens to sell in a given month, which can be distorted because interest rates go down, people start buying nicer homes. It's affected by whether you have more homes that are in foreclosure or in danger of foreclosure. So this kind of tries to filter that out.
So when you start looking at all of these trends, where does that kind of put us right now?
Right now, things are a little uncertain in the sense of we have so little inventory, and we're starting now to get into, as we talked about, the sun's out, the warm months. It's when people start to come out of their caves and look to buy a new home. And maybe that means selling their old home. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we get more inventory out there. We didn't really see it in March. March would kind of be the start of it, and we were hoping for some more inventory. Pretty soon we'll get the April numbers, and we'll have to see. Sort of anecdotally, I look at the listings every day. It seems like we have some more listings, but how that compares to previous Aprils, I'm going to have to see the numbers to see how that looks. But if we don't get inventory, then we're going to start probably seeing people get a little bit more desperate to buy homes, more bidding wars, escalating prices, and nobody really wants prices to get out of control again.
Yeah, I think it scares everybody, although I do tend to think that the fundamentals are certainly better rather than just everybody can get a loan. Aubrey Cohen joins us with the Seattle PI. Aubrey, okay, so if we put some really interesting numbers, we had Jim Pettigrew on just a few minutes ago, and we were discussing the fact that in North Seattle, condo prices have actually gone up over 100% in some areas. You recently wrote in your article that even the median price of a house in King County in February is up 18.5% from a year earlier. Those are pretty staggering numbers that can really, I guess, get people motivated to go, hey, I don't want to get priced out again. I obviously missed the bottom. What do I need to do?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a first-time home buyer, if you haven't owned a home before, then that's a concern. If you have a house you're selling, then you'll be selling and buying in the same market. And trying to time the bottom is a risky thing. But it's also risky to get too desperate to feel like, well, I absolutely have to buy. I'll never be able to buy again. That's what leads to these crazy bidding wars, and that's what pumped up the bubble in the first place. Mm-hmm. But that said, our prices are still below where they peaked out before. So and interest rates are still low. So people shouldn't get too despaired. I mean, people always look at what could have been. They look at the lowest prices where they could have bought, or the lowest interest rates, or where they could have sold if they sold at the peak. And that's, you'll just beat yourself up.
Should have bought Apple like 5 years ago, or 10 years
right,
ago.
Exactly right. I mean, there's no point. But if you're in a position to buy a home and you can qualify for a loan at the rates today, then it's not a bad idea. I don't think people should go too crazy and start feeling like they've got to get a home and they've got to pay whatever it takes to get a home, because I think that leads to bad outcomes. In terms of condos, it's kind of hard to know. The problem with the condo market is you have so much fewer sales, especially when you start looking at sub areas, that's really affected by the mix of what happens to sell. And different buildings can be so different that you really have to look over sort of longer periods of time to get numbers you can compare. But
it's just so fun to say 100%, isn't it?
Oh, sure. Well, and
gets everybody all jazzed up.
Nobody's building condos. Though actually, I think that's starting to change. I got a news release yesterday about a big project over by Lake Union that was announced years ago, and like a lot of things, sort of went on hold. And it sounds like they're about to get going again. So we may start to see some of that product under construction, which is still going to take ages before it actually hits the market.
Yeah, take a long time. And then, those new constructions, they know those key price points, so it's not going to be the less expensive housing either.
No, but, that could allow some people to move up from some of the more starter products that they're in right now.
Certainly.
And create space in the market.